Brought to you by JR Web Design. Is your website stuck in the Stone Age? Well, you need JR Web Designs. They'll craft you a website that's as awesome as our show. Hey, welcome, Josh. Josh Bartosik, guys. He is with us here tonight. He is from Penn State originally. That's when we connected before he got the gig in the NAHL. We'll talk about that tonight here with the Rochester Grizz. He has also been the former broadcaster, done work as a hockey insider for Penn State University. So we're going to talk a little Gavin McKenna, and then we're going to move over and talk about the North American Hockey League. How you doing, Josh? Welcome to the show.
Doing good. Thanks for having me on, guys. Super excited.
Absolutely. Well, hey, we don't want to take too long, so I'll get us started off here today. Everyone wants to know. So the first thing I did is once I knew Gavin hit Penn State, I'm like going, okay, who do I follow? Who is out there? And of course, with NCAA, you were one of those people. So I was like, okay, so you're been around there. Obviously, you've stepped away right now, but you still get all the feedback coming. So as a Penn State insider, even though you may not have been there this week, or you're right in the thick of the excitement, or have been when he got signed. Gavin McKenna committed, for those that don't know, to the Nittany Lions for this season after a monster WHL season with 129 points. He is the consensus projected number one overall. We have called it here on this show for 3 years he would be the consensus. Scouts are raving about his creativity. So tell us, what's the buzz around campus that you're hearing? How's the team feeling about integrating this 17-year-old phenom? And intelligent too, a very intelligent guy. As the number 5 ranked PSU get ready this year.
Yeah, I mean, for the team to come in, or this program, they were not even a D1 program 15, 16 years ago, and they, within that amount of time, have climbed up the ranks, get the consensus number one overall pick in next year's draft is nothing short of extraordinary. The talk on campus during that week, the lead up, and there were the rumors and the sort of spoilers before we announced it on ESPN, but I was on campus that week, and it was all anybody would talk about. When you go back to campus for the start of the school year, everyone that I'm so connected with up at Penn State, it's like, everyone loves the football team, but most people really care about Gavin McKenna. I mean, people have already talked about how special this kid is. I mean, you talked about it. Consensus number one overall pick for you guys, and for 3 years, I think at least 2 for the majority of people. He is an electrifying player. He's fitting fantastic so far from everything that I've heard. He's really gelling with the guys, Aiden Fink, Reese Lawback, the other CHL guys that have come into, Jackson Smith and Gavin McKenna were kind of not necessarily an official package deal, but there was the consensus that if Jackson Smith went to Penn State or Gavin McKenna went to Penn State, the other would follow and vice versa. And you saw Jackson Smith commit to the Nittany Lions a few months prior. There was a lot of talk about, was it going to be Penn State? Was it going to be Michigan State? Made both of his visits. Obviously, Jackson Smith was there, and those rumors seem to have at least held up because those two are now playing on the same team. And the team looks good. A lot of chemistry. They've talked numerous times about how they feel like this is the most gelled they've been before a season started in a long time. And I think a good chunk of that is that a lot of this team comes back from last year. And a lot of those guys were sophomores or maybe juniors who were part of that team that started the year 0-8-1 in conference play and then had the best second half in program history. They go to the Frozen Four. They win in Allentown. They didn't win the whole thing, but all they really needed was to get to that Frozen Four. They have that experience. You have these guys that have been there for years, know what this program's about, have been there through the highs and the lows. And there's a lot of expectations coming into this team. And I think they know that, but they're not really fazed by it. And I think you ask any single one of them, their consensus and the mindset is that they're going to win the national championship, and they want to do it with relative ease.
That's great. And of course, the chemistry is very important for any team. So when you hear that players are gelling, that's amazing. Now for you, we did want to congratulate you on landing that broadcaster gig with the Rochester Grizzlies in the NAHL, right? It is a big move from college coverage, right? So congrats on that. But for our listeners, because a lot of people may not be familiar with it, do you want to kind of describe what the North American Hockey League is beyond it being a tier 2 kind of junior league, and kind of what makes it unique and how, you guys scout for talent, or how, players are kind of sought after?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, the NA3 and the NAHL are both kind of very, very similar in the sense that, it's not just about the talent that they have on the ice. It's about the people they are off the ice too. You're shaping these young men, not just to be great hockey players, but to be great people as well and great, role models in the community. I think that's what makes a team and the community out here in Rochester so great is that, I mean, just yesterday we went to Washington Elementary School, had a fundraiser for them. I've done fundraisers already a couple of times throughout the years, have more coming up. We're in a little bit of a lull. We have 2 weeks off right now. It's a little bit weird, but I mean, you have all these guys that come from different states, some different countries as well, come to play in the NA3, the NAHL, and it's so interesting to see how quickly they get along with each other. I mean, you have all these guys coming from different backgrounds. Some guys from the same high school or the same league prior will be on the same team, but a lot of the times it's 20 new skaters, 10 new defensemen, 4 new goalies, and within a week and a half they're all best buds. They're going out every single place. They're building that team chemistry. They're bonds that I think that these guys, they may not realize it now, but they're going to be bonds that they keep for the rest of their lives. We've had players that moved on to the Division I level this past year who've already come back to watch some of the games for the Grizzlies early on in this season. And I mean, it just goes to show how great the camaraderie is and just, the culture that a lot of these teams strive to build, especially up here in, Minnesota and the Midwest. I mean, this is hockey country, right? I think for a lot of people, if you didn't come out of the womb with, skates and a stick in your hand, you were probably in the wrong state, so to speak. So I think, being in the state of hockey, being in this area that is so rich with that hockey culture. And I mean, it really helps elevate these kids on the ice and then off the ice too. I mean, you teach them about being good role models. They do volunteer hours. They go to these sponsorship events. They go to these charities. They're doing everything they can to become the best hockey player and the best person as well. And that's why I really like the NAHL and the NA3 too, is that, I mean, every league does it, but I think the NA3 and the NAHL are really, really key on both having the development for the players, but also their development as people as well.
Maybe you can help us out here. So, I totally forgot as we're coming in. So you're doing work with the NA3, is that correct?
Yeah. So my broadcasting gig is with the NA3, but the NAHL team up in Austin, Minnesota, which is 40 minutes, I also do some work for them too. They're sister teams. They've had shared ownership since 2017 under Brian Radine. He's been a fantastic owner. They've winning season. They've made the playoffs every single year since then. So, I mean, it's mainly in the NA3, but I dabble in the NAHL, and I still, have my ties with Penn State and ties with whatever. But
so, what is NA3 then officially? Like, what's the difference between the two leagues? You said they're sister leagues, but
yes. So the NA3 is tier 3. So it's kind of like the AHL system of the NAHL. So I mean, a bunch of these players, they come in, a lot of them are very young, 16, 17, not like, the NAHL and the USHL where you have a bunch of 18 to 20-year-olds. These are the younger guys the most of the time. And, they play well enough, they get called up to the NAHL team. A lot of these teams in the three show, as everyone likes to call it, they're relatively close to their sister team in the NAHL. They travel back and forth. When the NAHL has their preseasons, a lot of these guys go and play. I mean, our roster has had a little bit of turnover already throughout these first few weeks of guys that, go up, they come back down. So it's this is kind of like, this is the birthplace of junior hockey is the NA3. It's the basis, it's the foundation. And it's really where people, you see some of these guys, a lot of guys, I think they've had in total over 130 players commit D1 from the NA3, starting off the NA3, not just the NAHL and the USHL. So it's not exactly a league where, you go here and then that's where you are for the rest of eternity. You start here and you work your way up. And it's fun in that sense because you're really seeing, these 16, 17-year-old kids who are going to be the future of the game of hockey. And, you get lucky, you see some of them before anybody else really knows, they're going to be a household name. So
I was going to say, Pavel, I think we're going to have to contact Michael Davillano. For those that don't know, he's one of our regular guests, U.S. head scout for the Everett Silvertips. He's very good at walking through all the various leagues. And I heard reference, but I forgot all about the NA3 and the process. So to everyone out there, I don't feel like much of a geek right now because I've actually forgotten about the NA3. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel like stupid here tonight. So That's so awesome. I didn't know how it was all connecting for you. So man, gambling everywhere. Go ahead, Pavel.
No worries. And you did talk about how the team looks a little stacked. A lot of guys are back again. It seems like, you're going to try to be competitive again as a team. And the Central Division there has some depth. So as someone who's been watching the team, who are some of the breakout players that people should be keeping an eye on? Is it someone like a Donovan Balick, or is it a Ryan Schultz, right? Like, are these some of the guys that we're keeping an eye on? Or is there somebody that's like, you know what, you're a diamond in the rough. You're ready to elevate your game.
Yeah, Ryland Schultz is a great offensive D-man. His hockey IQ is fantastic. Has a wicked shot as well, and plays top 4 minutes for Marty Raymond's squad. Mason Decker's a guy led the team last year with 20 goals. He'll probably do it again this season with the way he's been playing. Had a 5-goal Friday night against Peoria, franchise record for most goals in a game. Ole Field, a guy that also spends a lot of time between Rochester and Austin. He plays on that top line alongside Decker, but someone that I've noticed in the short time that we've seen, it's only been a handful of games so far, 3-1 on the season. Brett Ludvinson, this is a guy that has come in, has been absolutely stellar so far for the Rochester Grizzlies. Has a couple of goals, couple of assists as well, and is an absolute workhorse, both on and off the puck. Not necessarily the biggest guy, below 6 feet, but what he lacks in size, he makes up for in grit and determination. He's one of those guys that you see him come off the bench and you're on the opposing team. You kind of let out a big sigh because you're about to get, outworked and out-hustled for the next 45 to 50 seconds. He's a fantastic player. Already playing top 6 minutes for Marty Raymond's squad, will probably stay in that role. He's a guy that has really come into his own in such a short amount of time because not someone that has played with some of these other guys before, but came in and filled a role, filled the need especially. And now this is a Rochester team that has pretty much 3 really solid scoring lines, and then someone else, in the goaltending, and Kyle Lappy, a hometown Rochester kid, got his first NA3 shutout this past weekend. Has only let up 2 goals on the season in 3 contests. He's stopped 29 of 30 shots he faced this past weekend. He has been really, really solid in net. Someone that, there's a lot of chaos in front of the crease, especially in the NA3. These are very young guys. It's not as polished as, the USHL or the CHL or NCAA hockey, but he finds a way to make every sort of play just kind of seem natural despite the chaos happening in front of him. Very poised in his net. Again, not a guy that's the biggest, but he fills the net very well, has great positioning, great hockey IQ, and great vision. And he's someone that I think is going to be backstopping this team a lot this year. Tate Metcalf, a guy that also is a goaltender for this team. They'll be the 1A, 1B sort of situation. But it's a good start for the year so far. You have really good scoring lines. The defense looks great, especially with a guy like Ryland Schultz on that back end. And then find a hidden gem, like you said, and Kyle Lappy, a guy in your own backyard who's been as fantastic as he had. It sets up for a good season. These guys the boys are they're under the impression that they're going to make a deep run, and they want to make that last.
And before Evan gets to his next question, can you also follow in the footsteps of almost every national broadcaster? Because I think Lappy's only 5'10", 5'11", talking about how short that is for a goaltender. Yeah. Because that's all I hear about UC Saros. So I feel maybe he can have a chance at making it.
Well, how old is he?
He just turned 17. So
but he's 5'10", I think. 5'10" or 5'11", right?
Yeah.
If I recall.
Yeah, he is not the biggest guy, but again, what they make up for in.
Well, I'm just saying, I'm thinking like UC Saros, where every broadcaster just talks about how short he is every game, as if that matters.
So he's one of the sought out ones whenever someone wants to trade for a goalie. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, Lappy, he's 18 now. His birthday's in a few days. I think it's the 27th, so he'll turn 19 soon. But he's come in first year in the NA3, has done a fantastic job. And you talk about being a homegrown talent. Whenever his name gets called, the fans, however few or however many there are, they go nuts for that kid. They love seeing guys that have grown up in Rochester, representing the Rock, as everyone calls it, wearing that Grizzlies logo. It's a huge accomplishment for him, and it's a huge sense of pride for everybody in the stands as well.
So here's a quick question. We're just kind of going a little off track here from our questions, but you're just talking about him. So what it sounds like he gets everyone excited. You got that connection, the hometown, everything like that. What's the strength to his game? Just curious.
The strength for him is his vision, and his rebound control is really solid for a guy that has not really been in the NA3 for very long. I mean, he's only played 3 games. His rebound control is very solid. Normally, he finds a way to, I mean, he gobbles up every puck, right? And the times where our rebounds are kicked into the corner helps. He's very communicative with his defensemen and the other players out there on the ice too, which is something that a lot of these players, in the early goings of NA3, they struggle with the communication. Yeah. I mean, these are guys you haven't played with very much, or for some guys you haven't played with them at all. So it's tough to really, learn the mannerisms and their style of play. But he really directs things from the crease for this Grizzlies squad, and the vision and the rebound control is very above average for someone of his age in this league as well. And I think he's going to go pretty far, and especially this year. I think he'll be one of the top goaltenders in the NA3 from what we've seen so far.
That's awesome, man. I'm excited for the kids when you're seeing them do so well. So I'm going to kind of go off script a little bit on some of my questions, just because some of the things that you've shared. So 37% of the North American Hockey League generally has gone on to play Div 1 in NCAA. Now, having worked out of Penn State, you guys are experiencing the first year that this is making an impact. So we do a lot, especially up around the Canadian Hockey League, USHL, and around the BCHL and all junior leagues, which would be kind of like the NAHL down there for you guys. So one thing that we're recognizing now, so the BCHL used to be massive. They've lost lots of their guys into the CHL, and the CHL has lost. Now, last count I had last week, and I didn't get it settled in, there was over 60 some odd players left the CHL to head to university. So here's my question, just for you. I mean, having followed Penn State and where you see things going, and now we're hearing about guys that played some minor pro, and they're getting into some leagues because it's all under the NIL, right? Name, image, and licensing piece. Do you think that this is just from your own perspective? Obviously, I don't think you'll get in trouble because you're not calling for Penn State, so I can be okay here. Right? just your thought on it. I think it's great for all the kids, is what we agree. The kids, regardless, right? But right. I am a little worried for some hockey leagues that are going to get drained. And will this affect the North American Hockey League? Will they present as much now? That's the other part. So there's a bunch of little pieces to it. I'll just leave that with you to kind of answer as you see.
Yeah, it's tough, right? I mean, this is the first year we're seeing it. It's in its early stages, and I think there are a lot of genuine concerns about the future of these developmental leagues. I think there are going to be a lot of leagues that take a big hit. I do think that a league like the USHL and the NAHL and the NA3 are going to, as the years go on, really take a hit in terms of you're going to see guys that in years past would probably be playing in the USHL at 16, 17 years old that probably have to start in the NA3 and really try and work their way up. But it might be tough because you have these guys that can play in those Canadian leagues and then move their way back down. It's unfortunate for a lot of these kids that are not Canadian, I think is what it is. I think it hurts, despite it being really beneficial for college hockey, it hurts American hockey at the same time. It's beneficial for these Canadian hockey kids. I think the CHL and a good chunk of the other Canadian leagues will be fine. I mean, there's just so much homegrown talent there, and you have guys that will move from the States up north to play hockey there if they can, and there should, because I think it's in a good sense of the junior leagues, it's better to go to Canada to try and get that development. I think they have a more robust history in terms of having their developmental talent figured out, but I think it's detrimental to people those players who are, not exactly your future NHL draft picks, but the guys that were on par to play college hockey at a D1 school, and all of a sudden they now have to go to D1 club or even D3 club, or some of these guys that were going to play club or maybe even D1 that suddenly don't have a spot anymore and their entire world's been flipped upside down. I think there's an easy fix to try and start, limiting the damage and stop the bleeding, and you need to get more Division I hockey programs. There's only 64 in the country right now, actually 63 because AIC, discontinued just this past season. So you're under 70 D1 schools, and you have an influx of another 2,000 or hundreds of players from these Canadian leagues trying to come in. You got to find a way to get the funding to get a bunch of these club teams enough money, enough backing from their athletic directors to enhance the game of college hockey, get more programs, make it more nationwide. And then these players that were already playing college hockey, they might not be able to go to the original school they wanted to, but they can still play at the D1 level, because there are going to be some really talented guys that go under the radar because they won't be able to play, D1 college hockey. They'll be playing club hockey or whatever, but some guys that would have had a legitimate shot to make some noise in the Division I, and they're not going to be able to. And that's really the downside of it. It is still good for the players, but it's hurting hockey in the States more than anything else, I think, especially in the developmental leagues.
No, that's really good to know, because even that number is 64, 63, like it's not that big when you consider how big the US is, how many, schools and universities there are, and where the money is going, given that people are wanting to invest in college if that's the elite level that they can only get to, right? So that's really good insight. Now, to turn it back a little bit around, because my partner likes to go off on a tangent. He loves his young college hockey. I wanted to talk about you and kind of your experiences, because you've gone over here from Penn State hockey and being a men's team insider to play-by-play voice, right? Which is an incredible thing for, I believe you're a broadcasting student, right? So
yes,
it's been a great trajectory for you. But what are some of the big lessons that you've had from when you spend your time in comm radio that's going to help you thrive in this role? What's something you can advise people about? And really, and my third question would be, what are some of the stories that you want to kind of highlight in the NAHL that maybe don't get enough shine to the general public?
Yeah, I mean, we'll start with that first part. I mean, in terms of, just things that I learned at comm radio. I learned a lot. I mean, I owe a lot to Penn State, my professors there, my friends, and the mentors that I had there. They're really a big part of the reason that I found myself in a rare position, getting a broadcasting job straight out of college. It's so tough, especially in this day and age. I mean, a lot of people want to be sports broadcasters. There's not as many openings as people would like. So extremely grateful for the time I had there. It's about trusting the process, I think, is, getting on campus. I mean, I didn't really realize that I didn't really have the vision of what I wanted to do until my senior year of high school. And then COVID hit and it became a little messy and weird, but you just got to trust the process, right? You're not going to get on campus. You're not going to automatically be calling the biggest games and the best games. And for a lot of these places that have really, really good broadcasting programs, they're not exactly the biggest D1 schools or the biggest sports schools. It's more smaller sports. And I'm, again, eternally grateful for being at a school that has a football stadium that holds 107,000 people and a hockey arena that is, was built on $100 million from the Pagula family. So I'm extremely grateful, but you got to trust the process. It starts out small. I start off doing tiny podcasts, writing articles, whatever I could. And I really found my niche. I always knew my niche was going to be hockey, but I really honed it in college. And, you get recognized from other people, within the organization, comm radio, within the school of Penn State. They bump you up to, for me, it was men's hockey. You can be football, basketball, whatever it was. Then you just start working your way up, doing all those other sort of events. And then you get to be in, the best position possible, which I was in senior year, getting to, cover this team, be one of the top guys across all news outlets covering Penn State hockey, going to Allentown, going to St. Louis, going to Wrigley Field. And, for those that want to be broadcasters or just kind of, you're not exactly sure where to start or, how to get your foot in the door. It's just start writing articles, do whatever. If you need to broadcast an old hockey game, an old sports game. If you play video games, this is what I did during COVID. I would play NHL, but I would have a CPU game and I would broadcast it in my living room. It would drive my mom nuts, but it did help hone my craft. I mean, it's all about getting reps and getting experience. The more you write, the more you do these podcasts, the more you broadcast and you listen back to yourself, you get advice from other people in the industry, the better you're going to become. It's one of those rare industries where the more experience you get hands-on and kind of getting thrown into the fire, the better you become. And you have to be able to thrive under that. I think most people that want to be in the sports industry do. I think that's one of the many quirks that we have. And one of the many positive qualities that people in the sports industry have is that they kind of thrive under pressure and being thrown in the fire and just kind of living with the punches, whatever it may be. And then moving forward, transitioning to just stories in the NA3 and the NAHL. I kind of touched on it a little bit more, but just the personal stories and the personal side for these guys. I mean, there are 17 kids from Minnesota on this Rochester team, and 5 or 6 of them are from the Rochester area. they've got so many connections, so many roots. I mean, they grew up here. They get to play for the hometown team. You can see it on their faces in practice when they hit the ice, and just getting to know the personal side of them. And also, a lot of these guys, they may not, some of them understand, some of them may not, but this could be one of the last times they lace up those skates. You can't take it for granted. Every shift you got to play like it's your last, and there are guys out there that definitely do that, and they put their heart and soul into it. And I think, getting to learn them off the ice, not just as hockey players, getting to know the personal side, what's your favorite pregame meal, your pregame ritual, music, do you have any hidden talents, just getting them to be more personal for the fans that may just know them as, a guy with a stick and skates. That's something that I've tried to work on in a few short weeks here in Rochester. And we're going to try and continue to work on that throughout the year so that people see these guys as people, not just players.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, no, that's excellent. It's got me interested when you were just saying about broadcasting, because just before we came on, I just saw a good friend of ours so we're in season 7, and in season 3 when we started bringing guests on. And so his name's Sean Mullen. He actually called for Stu Skinner and Carter Hart in the final in the Western Hockey League. He got to call the championship game. So he's a big believer in Stu Skinner. He says, keep hanging on. But
someone's got it.
It's 15 years ago he got started in that. Now he's still in radio because that was 20 years ago. I think of Keegan Bartrum, who's done a lot in the AJHL and, a bunch of the guys around the junior leagues and stuff. And then actually even what was it? So we don't get him on anymore. Alex Thomas used to call up in Boston for the Northeastern team for the women. But he ended up getting a gig with the Hartford Wolfpack. So we've had folks on like Leah Hextall and stuff. So I'm going to tell you, we get a lot of promotions. So what we ask is when you get your promotion, at some point, as much as you love to be where you are, when you take that next step, we want to get you back on. But
absolutely.
I digress. We'll get you on in the meantime, because I'd love to still follow up any of the new stuff as we get new questions coming in, if we can kind of get something in there. I was going to say, now this is just like live coming. I don't know if you can arrange it or not. We would be more than happy to kind of spotlight someone on your NA3 team if they're interested in coming on and just sharing about their experience to like a 15, 20-minute segment. So we'll throw that out at you. If something can come around, contact us. And we love to get some of the different players on. And it's always exciting to be able to hear different viewpoints around hockey.
Yeah, I'll relay it to the guys.
That'd be great.
They seem to, I think that they're quite fond of me so far. They've given me the nickname Hollywood because I always show up in my suits on game day, which.
Well, hey, tell them we're Canadian. We're out of Western Canada. And we get a good chunk of connections and networking. So if they want to get recognized, it's you never know. I'm just joking. But no.
Any publicity is good publicity, we say.
Well, we'll try to keep it all positive for the kids. So, so that's awesome, man. Thanks, Josh. We appreciate it so much tonight.
Yeah, thank you guys. It was a pleasure.
Yeah. And so are there any final thoughts you want to share? You want anyone to link up with you or in terms of connecting with you? We put your details at the bottom here at the banner, but is there anything you want to share? Final thoughts before we wrap up?
Yeah. I mean, if anybody wants to follow me on Twitter or Instagram at Josh_Bartosik, I keep up with Penn State hockey, still covering that team, write some stuff for World Plus. Just had an article earlier today about, the assistant coaches for Penn State, both former players. One of them was the best man at the other guy's wedding, and now they're coming back to be coaches. So got some fun content rolling out this year for Penn State hockey. It'll be a fun one. And again, if you want to listen to me yap about NA3 hockey, you can tune into me on NAHL TV every Friday and Saturday when the Grizzlies have games. But yeah, it was a pleasure. Go Nittany Lions. Going to still root for my guys, even though I don't officially work for them anymore. But big weekend next weekend against Arizona State. Probably the top matchup to watch in college hockey for those that follow the NCAA.
Well, I'm gonna call out a 2-goal win. We're gonna give them a 4-2 win. How's that?
Perfect. Hey, a win is a win, and with the amount of talk about this team, you kind of want to take it a win at a time because there's a lot of buzz.
All I'm gonna say is you guys will probably never see another player like you're gonna get in Gavin McKenna.
100%.
I mean, we're talking live in game. It is just like it's like a thrill just to kind of watch that guy out there, like no matter how the team's playing. So
yeah. It's going to be
That's
electric.
so people know.
Student tickets for Penn State hockey normally sell out in about 5 minutes. This year they sold out in 30 seconds. So,
oh my gosh, that's so good. And how many did they seat in there?
That barn's technically, I mean, it's 6,200 is like really the maximum capacity.
Yeah.
But standing room only, they do a lot more. I think the most they had was almost at 7,000 last year. They had standing room only, and it was against Minnesota for the whiteout. They were at like 6,600. And I'm sure at some point this season they will probably have an attendance number that starts with a 7, probably when Michigan State comes to town, because Gavin McKenna versus Porter Martone and Trey Augustine and everybody else on Michigan State. It's probably gonna be the most NHL talent you'll see on the ice at one time.
I got my NCAA and all the games already set up and put into my schedule, so looking forward to it.
There you go.
All right, Josh Bartosik, guys, our guest headliner tonight. Thanks so much, bro.
Thank you, guys.
Guest headliner.